Hey Justin, today we received the news that you have been named the Dodger nominee for the 2021 Roberto Clemente Award, which one, congratulations on that. What does that just mean to you?
Yeah, it's obviously something that's really special to myself and my wife Courtney. Something we take a lot of pride in is giving back to the community and giving back to our community, helping people who are less fortunate, people in need, helping people, you know, get up after getting knocked down and get back on their feet, and to be named the nominee on this team with a lot of guys who do a lot of great things in our community is obviously pretty special and something we don't take for granted.
And when you and Courtney think about just this past year, the pandemic, and all of the work you guys have done, how did it kind of, and if it did, just kind of add to the importance of giving back to the community and really just supporting those around you?
Well, yeah, I think the pandemic hit everyone in all aspects of life pretty hard, and we kind of take the lead of our friends at the Dream Center right down the road from us and help support them when stuff comes up and things happen. And that was kind of the case during the pandemic last year. The LA Unified School Districts got shut down. So many families rely on the hot meal program for their kids to have that meal provided for them. And when the schools got shut down, they didn't have that service available to them. So the Dream Center opened up their food line, their hot meal program, and we jumped on board to support them at that. And it ended up kind of accidentally turning into a great thing in that we were able to go to local restaurants, local family owned restaurants, and order, big numbers of meals and then have them sent to the Dream Center. So we were helping feed families and kids in needs, and also, helping these small restaurants, these local family owned businesses kind of stay afloat in a time of need.
Well, thank you, Justin, and congratulations on your nomination.
Next question is from Dave Vassay. Go ahead, Dave.
Justin, do you remember when you really decided to take on this responsibility in some ways to help the city of Los Angeles? Do you remember how this all started organically?
Yeah, I do. It actually started with Courtney going on a wives kind of outreach trip to the Dream Center. And when she came home, she was raving about it, telling me how I had to go up there and I had to see what they're doing and talking about all the great programs that they had. And I took her advice. We went up there and started getting to know the people at the Dream Center, Pastor Matthew Barnett, who does incredible things, and everyone around them. And then a few months after that, they actually came to us and with the idea of opening a veterans program, a homeless veterans program. And in order to raise money for this, they wanted to put on a golf tournament, and they asked if we would take the lead in the golf tournament and call it the Justin Turner Golf Classic. And we threw this tournament together. I think you probably remember, Vassay. We did it over there at Brookside, right next to the Rose Bowl. We put it together in less than 2 months and had a lot of success doing it. And after that, after we saw what we can do in such a small amount of time, we knew we wanted to create our foundation and continue to grow and continue to help as many people as we possibly could.
Do you feel like when you talk about what Justin Turner's legacy is going to be with the Dodgers, it's more than just what you do on the field at this point? Do you feel like you're an example, you and Kershaw, for the next generation of players that are starting to find themselves in the major leagues?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to understand that obviously we have a job to do, and that's to go out and perform under the lights at 7:00. But it's more than just baseball. It's a responsibility to our fans, to our communities, to get out and to give back and to help people in need. And Obviously that's the biggest priority, but I think the other thing for me that motivates me is being an example and setting a bar and being I guess influential on the other guys in our clubhouse to get out and get out of their shell, get out in the community, help start their own foundations. And it's been really cool seeing, Kenley started a foundation, Will Smith's done some stuff, Walker Bueller is doing charity events, Chris Taylor started his foundation and he had his virtual concert this year. So seeing it spread through the clubhouse, I think is something that I'm extremely proud of. And I know, it's when I came over here, the bar was already set high. You mentioned Clayton and everything that the Kershaw Challenge Foundation had done. And before I was here, I was with the Mets and David Wright had his foundation. So I was around guys who set the bar pretty high as far as giving back to the community. And I wanted to follow in those footsteps. And now I feel like it's, my duty is, I know Clayton's still here and still does a great job, but to help him kind of raise that bar for the other guys in the clubhouse to get out and be impactful in our community.
Thank you, Justin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next question is from JP Hornstra. Go ahead.
Hey, Justin, a couple baseball questions here for you. I know every season kind of takes on its own character. Every team takes on its own characteristics. But just thinking about with this group, the changes you made to bring in Max and Trey at the deadline and just how you've played really in August and September, some of your best baseball of the season. Does this team remind you of any team past, Dodger team past that you've been a part of?
It's hard to compare. I mean, we've been on a lot of really good teams in my 8 years here, but this one's special on its own. I think we are extremely well-rounded in all areas, starting pitching, bullpen, position player depth, and we're kind of on our own path right now and playing really good baseball. So I don't think it's appropriate to kind of label us right now until we see what we do at the end of the year.
And then your last two games here have been some of your best games at the plate in the second half. Is that the result of anything specific you've been working on recently?
Well, I've been working and trying to work through some things and figure some stuff out, and obviously hadn't gotten the results that I'd been getting in the first half, but I do feel like my timing's been a lot better over the last week or 10 days or so, and I'm hitting balls harder more frequently, which is always a good sign. And now it's just about finding some holes when you hit them hard.
Thank you.
Next question is from Ron Calviner. Go ahead.
Hey, Justin, you mentioned how proud you were that your teammates are also kind of starting their own foundations and things in the community. I'm curious, how much did Kenley and Will and those guys consult with you and Courtney and just kind of ask for your advice when they started their own stuff?
I mean, not a ton, little questions here and there. I know I did talk to CT a lot about his event that he was doing. He originally was going to do, I think, a golf outing in Virginia, and then with COVID happening, he pushed that back and he kind of pivoted to the virtual concert, and it was just awesome to see him do that. And then now, I haven't even mentioned Albert or Schurz or some of the other guys that have extremely successful foundations in the clubhouse now, guys that we brought in this year. So there's just an amazing amount of just quality human beings in our clubhouse who get it and know that it's bigger than baseball. And it's really cool to see the younger guys, kind of following suit and understanding that and making their impact on people's lives in whatever way they choose to do so.
You've obviously done a lot, in Los Angeles since coming to the Dodgers. What's it mean to be able to do this in your hometown and kind of the area you grew up in?
Yeah, I think it makes it a little extra special. I think obviously, growing up in Long Beach, Lakewood area, and getting to play here, not too far from there, it makes it even more special. And growing up here and driving around, a lot of the stuff that we do is with our homeless veterans programs and growing up here and seeing, every freeway exit you get off of, it seems like you see a homeless vet on the corner, struggling, looking for their next meal. So when that opportunity presented itself to have our first golf tournament and start this program, it was a no-brainer, because it's something that I'd seen my whole life.
Next question's from Eric Steven. Go ahead.
Justin, you mentioned Clayton Kershaw and David Wright as examples for you coming up. Just wondering, were there any other mentors for you, either players, coaches, or someone else?
There's been a ton of guys, really. David Wright was the main one in New York. Adrian Gonzalez was always went above and beyond when he was here with the Dodgers as well. And then, Kirsch is I think one of the ultimate examples for me. Him and Ellen do incredible things, not only here, but in Dallas and all around the world, really. So, I've had some pretty good guys to kind of lead the way for me in that aspect.
Got time for one more. Go ahead, DG.
Hey, Justin, we saw the Giants last night have a sort of a traditional champagne beer celebration after clinching a playoff spot. Do you think you guys will do that after clinching a playoff spot?
You know what? That hadn't even crossed my mind yet. And I think my first reaction, although you don't want to take those things for granted, I don't know if we'll celebrate that. I don't know if we'll celebrate clinching a playoff spot until we know where we're at. But I hadn't thought about it yet. So don't quote me on that. I'm not sure what we're going to do.